And hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Vision of Veritas here. There's quite a lot that we could talk about today, but what I specifically want to focus on is, the remarks that Biden had with regards to energy security yesterday, or quote unquote energy security. You know, I used to believe that this man lies simply to push an agenda. Now, we can go through his entire speech point by point, and we can refute an awful lot of it. I'm only going to focus on a few things here because this would be like a 3 or 4 part episode here, or one extremely long one, and some of this is starting to get redundant. But after watching this guy, I don't think that he thinks himself that he's lying. I think he legitimately believes what he says. Now, you may be able to chalk it up to his lacking cognitive abilities. You could also chalk it up to his narcissistic personality, but we all know by now that this man is incapable of running things on his own. Now, I know presidents don't run things on their own, but they have a certain level of autonomy, of decision-making that Biden isn't not only capable of, but doesn't have the intellectual capacity to do. I mean, while this can be an unfortunate prospect of getting older, he doesn't, at least to watch him, to look at him, he doesn't have the ability to think clearly anymore. So he's a man clearly affected by his age. And while he touts a 50-year incredible career, those of us who've truly looked at him know it's his career of racism, of deception, of backroom deals, of complete and utter corruption with his son. But anyhow, getting back to what I was saying, I really think that he believes what he's saying here. And while I obviously can't confirm any of what I'm going to say right now, I think he believes it because of the information that he is given. The narrative that's being forced on him is such that he believes he's actually making decisions autonomously, when really he's being corralled into making specific decisions and thinking that they're positive for the economy, positive for the American people, when clearly they're not. Or you know what, I could be completely and entirely wrong. He actually knows exactly what he's doing, and he's doing it intentionally, but subsequently peddling it as a positive for the country. The thing is, no matter how you look at this, no matter how you try to slice and dice it or even justify it in your own mind, he's telling partial truths that are being told in such a way that they are true, but they're not true. Because he's actually riding on the coattails of his predecessor, and I'll explain that in a little bit here. And there are other times within the speech when it's just an outright blatant lie. And the thing is, it's a lie being told over and over and over. And while I don't know off the top of my head who said it, if you tell the same lie over and over and over, not only will you begin to believe it, but the masses who listen to you will also start to believe it, even though there's no evidence to back up what you're saying. That's what's so dangerous about this guy. He's trying to come off as your friendly neighbor with the language that he's using, trying to make you think that he is someone just like you, when he's not. He's someone looking down from on high, telling you whatever he's being told to say, regardless of its legitimacy, regardless of how much truth is injected into the lie to make it palatable for you, the average American citizen. And just to leave a reference, I did a video on truth and how what the truth is and how the truth is changing and has changed over time. And how truth doesn't mean now what it did 30 years ago, even 20 years ago. Truth is now up to someone's emotion. Whatever they think or feel is best for them in that particular moment. But anyhow, let's take a look at some of the parts of the speech here, recognize the deception and pull it apart and try to inject actual truth into it. So the first partial truth that we're going to address here, we actually have to go back to the press conference from 2 days ago from Karine Jean-Pierre, because we need to take a portion of what she said, combine it with part of Biden's speech to gain a full understanding of where their heads are at. So let's go ahead and listen to both right here.
Oil companies are ranking in record profits, as we have seen. They have showed it themselves. We've seen it ourselves. While more than 9,000 approved drilling permits remain untapped by the oil industry. At the same time, U.S. oil production is up and on track to reach a record high this year. Again, a record high. In fact, the United States has produced more oil in President Biden's first year than under the Trump administration's first year. Okay, we're going to move on.
We need to responsibly increase American oil production without delaying or deferring our transition to clean energy. Let's debunk some myths here. My administration has not stopped or slowed U.S. oil production. Quite the opposite. We're producing 12 million barrels of oil per day. And by the end of this year, we will be producing 1 million barrels a day, more than the day in which I took office. In fact, we're on track for record oil production in 2023.
Now, this is a prime example of just enough truth mixed up in the Democrat cauldron of lies and then fed to everybody here. But it's just enough to make it palatable for the American people, and here's why. We have heard time and time again that the Biden administration has issued more permits for oil and gas drilling on public land per month than the Trump administration did in the first 3 years of being in office. Now remember the portion of Trump's first 3 years. And hold it for a little bit later here. There's a specific reason why the first 3 years was mentioned. You see, he's currently trying to take credit for the uptick in oil production when really he can't take any credit at all. In fact, he's the one who said specifically that he was going to destroy the fossil fuel industry in order to usher in this new clean energy that we may or may not want. The technology may not be mature enough, so on and so forth, but it doesn't matter. The powers that be want us lowly peons to have it, and therefore we're going to have it whether we like it or not. And quite honestly, I personally believe that it adds another layer or level of control. You see, internal combustion engines, while there are a lot of electronics mixed into current vehicles, moving to an all-electric system, I personally believe is going to usher in extreme government overreach. I don't think we're going to retain true ownership of our vehicles anymore. With everything all electric, with a flip of a switch somewhere, if someone says, hey, you're not allowed to drive anymore, you're not allowed to use your car anymore, your electric vehicle can be shut down in a drop of a hat. We've all heard and read about Tesla disallowing owners of their vehicles to even enter their vehicle without participating in a particular upgrade or a battery replacement. I used to be in information technology, specifically network administration. While this really is a conversation for another time, if you look into the way the current technology industry is going, you're starting to not be able to own your own software anymore. You don't legitimately own what you purchase because you really don't purchase it, you pay for subscriptions. It's one of the reasons why I refuse to install Windows 11 on my computer. But anyhow, back to the topic at hand. Forcibly ushering in all-electric vehicles is just another mode for control for the government. You can't do that with internal combustion engines, at least not nearly as easily as an all-electric substitute. Anyhow, sorry for getting off topic, but back to the topic at hand. If you listen to Biden's speech here, if you listen to Karine Jean-Pierre, they love to tell you that the U.S. oil and gas permits have increased under Biden, and the data shows it. Continuing on from the information from Yahoo here, the federal government has been issuing oil and gas drilling permits more willingly than it did during President Donald Trump's first 3 years in office. And it could be issuing even more if the oil and gas industry weren't leaving so many current leases undeveloped. So as you've probably guessed here, there's more than just meets the eye. Once again, the claim is that the Biden administration has issued more permits for oil and gas drilling on public land per month than the Trump administration did in the first 3 years, according to new analysis of federal data. But you see, the permits for the spike in oil production, they were already sold under the Trump administration. So in reality, Biden is taking credit for the quote-unquote uptick in oil production even though our prices are exorbitantly high, because Trump was the one who actually sold the leases, and they've just now come to fruition. So no, emphatically Biden is not at all responsible for any increased oil production in the United States of America. And his next claim here, it's an outright blatant lie. Let's take a listen.
Let's debunk some myths here. My administration has not stopped or slowed U.S. oil production. Quite the opposite. We're producing 12 million barrels of oil per day. And by the end of this year, we will be producing 1 million barrels a day, more than the day in which I took office.
Did this puppet just say that he hasn't done anything to hinder oil production? That it's because of him that we're producing so much as it is? You know, I don't know what they have this guy on, but it's got to be pretty powerful for him to actually say with conviction that he actually thinks he hasn't done anything to stop or hinder oil production. Let's take a look down memory lane to see what he has done to hinder oil production. First and foremost, never allow yourself to believe that Putin has anything whatsoever to do with the high gas prices here in America. Prior to Putin's invasion into Ukraine, our gas prices already started to rise as soon as this moron was installed into power because of his pending executive orders. Remember, folks, Biden's first week on the job here, he issued executive orders. Well, he signed executive orders that killed tens of thousands of American jobs. Additionally, he disallowed the drilling and exploration of any more federal lands as far as oil and gas production is concerned. Former President Trump proved that we have enough oil and energy in this country to be an energy net exporter, to actually bring revenue into this country. Biden completely destroyed that, along with destroying tens of thousands of jobs, along with millions of dollars in wages as well. You can't claim to be on the side of the American people. You can't claim to want to help the American people, especially with their fuel prices, if you're willing to do what you did. If Biden actually wanted to, quote unquote, debunk some myths, how if we start with the fact that he's leased fewer acres of federal and offshore land than any other president since the end of World War II? The Biden administration has approved just over 200 leases monthly, while the Trump administration was approving around 400 monthly. Biden has issued the fewest acres of land for federal oil and gas leaking since the late 1940s, according to the Wall Street Journal. So if you want to round it out, Biden is currently sitting on more than 4,700 pending applications to drill for oil. If you want to lower costs, you want to bring down production, you increase domestic production. Biden is refusing to do it. Bottom line is this, it's disingenuous. American oil production has declined dramatically since he took office. Greg Walsher, who's a natural resource fellow at the conservative Centennial Institute, said that the United States was completely energy independent for the first time when Biden took office, but now he's begging dictators for oil instead of helping pump responsibly sourced oil domestically. Let me say that again. When Biden took office, we were completely independent for the first time ever since modern oil production began. When Biden destroyed that, he shoved a rusted pipe up every American's ass. And now we are begging dictators across the world to increase their production when we can be taking care of it ourselves. Heck, in early October, Biden even begged Saudi Arabia to delay cutting oil production to avoid gas price hikes until after the midterms. Again, showing the dishonesty and the disingenuousness of not only Biden as a person, but his administration as a whole. He doesn't care anything about you. He cares about himself. He cares about the individuals pulling his puppet strings. And he cares about those he has in his back pockets because he is yielding ill-gotten gains. Never did I think I would be saying this, but truth truly is a precious thing nowadays. And what makes this even more difficult is truth isn't that easy to find. You'd think with all of the resources that we have, you'd think with the open internet that we have, that the truth about certain subjects and certain items would be very easy to find, but it's not. The reason why is because the major search engines and the massive tech companies tailor your results to not show anything that goes against the narrative that's being pushed. You have to use alternative search engines. You have to find ways of searching the truth. You have to go directly to the source of the data and not look at CNN opinion pieces. Folks, we are truly living in dangerous times. We have an administration that has no problem lying directly to the American people. And the most terrifying part of it is he does it with a smile, and the man actually thinks he's telling the truth. My friends, make sure that you as the consumer do your due diligence, research what you can, and actually find out the truth. That's what we are attempting to do here on the Vision of Veritas. We are making it a point to point out the lies, the deception, and the never-ending hypocrisy of the left. So thank you for joining me today for the Vision of Veritas. I'm trying to put out a new video every day to every other day. If you got anything out of today's episode, please like, share, and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. I'm still a brand new channel, and I truly cannot do this without you. Thank you, my friends, and take care.